So amazing things were happening in Mary's life. And then we get to hear this incredible little phrase. It's almost a picture, a window into her interior. And it's such an honor for us that the Bible gave us this window. And it says, Mary kept all these things, reflecting on them in her heart. Mary kept all these things, pondering them in her heart. I just want to reflect with you a little bit, as now in 2023, we're launching into the new year. New years are always times of looking back and looking forward, times of memory and times of anticipation. And one of the things that is so helpful for our humanity is to be able to look back. To be able to look back. And I just want to hold up for you Mary as a model of how to do that, as well as then to give you 3 practical ways of looking forward. I want to say this next part super gently and reverently, because I think it impacts all of us. And that's this. If something happened in your day, yesterday, let's say, and you had something happen, and one person told you something quite positive about that, and then another person told you something that was negative about that. So you do the same thing happens, and someone makes a positive comment, complimenting you or whatever, and another person says, there was actually, I felt like it wasn't as good as it could have been. Just want to hold up for all of us this morning, later that night, as you're thinking about that event, which do you tend to remember? Which do you tend to remember? Which comment do you tend to drift towards? Which do you keep in your heart? Which do you reflect and ponder on? And if I'm honest with you, I'm a melancholic temperament. So I'm tremendously disposed to reflect on the negative. I'm actually particularly gifted at it. Okay. Like if like 100 comments were told to me that were super positive and one was a constructive criticism, I can almost guarantee you that the 100 would like go one ear out the other, and the constructive criticism, I would marinate. I would let it soak and germinate. And for a while, it kind of crushed me to be able to do that. But then something started happening in the last few months, which has given me a tremendous liberation, and I just want to hold this out to you. And Mary is a model for us on this. So let's just say hypothetically you are that type of person where you tend to remember, to keep, to ponder on what went wrong, what way you could improve, what was bad, so to speak. There's different ways that you and I can approach this. Sometimes you and I can try to not remember that. Just focus on the positive. The problem is I'm not focusing enough on the positive. And if I just try to cancel out the bad, that will free me up to focus on the positive. I don't know if you've ever tried to do that. In my own life, it does not work very well. It actually seems to strengthen the negative. It actually kind of gives you a little bit of a compulsive tendency. So it's okay, am I supposed to dwell on the negative? Am I supposed to try to avoid it? Do I confront it head on? How am I supposed to look at my past if my past is mixed? This question is very significant for our lives. How am I supposed to look at my past, whether it's my recent past, like yesterday, my week, my month, my year, if it's mixed. You see, you and I, we live in a culture that helped promote cancel culture. Like, if anything was mixed, if anything was not totally perfect, if anything was partially bad, we're going to tear down your statue. We're going to try to blot you out from our memory. And we can sometimes feel a little bit self-righteous for doing that. And then what we discover, though, is this gnawing feeling that I'm going to be canceled too. Because if I'm honest, I'm a mixed bag. I'm a mixed priest. I'm a mixed preacher. I'm a mixed confessor. I'm a mixed brother. I'm a mixed son. I'm a mixed friend. So how can I hold my past? In other words, how can I hold myself if I'm mixed? There's good and bad in me, in you. And I want to just share with you that there is a way that's actually quite simple that Mary shows us that is game-changing. So I won't say exactly what I did, but I did something in the last, we'll say 3 weeks at the parish at St. Ambrose. And some people were enthusiastic about it. And I'll just say 2 people weren't. 2 people were far from enthusiastic about it. And in the past, a year ago, 2 years ago, it would have just crushed me. Absolutely would have crushed me. But what I'm starting to discover is this. I don't have to try to cancel that. I don't have to try to avoid it. I don't have to try to just like only focus on the positive. Here's what God's inviting me to do. I said, Jesus, could you hold that with me? It's that simple. Jesus, could you hold that with me? This memory, this experience, this constructive criticism. Could you and I do this together? Could we hold it together? And do you know what I found? I was like liberated. It wasn't as heavy. It didn't last as long for me. Why? Because I wasn't alone in it. I wasn't alone in it. Have you ever tried where you get like 15, 20 objects and you're like trying to carry them and it's like weird? What if another person came along and said, could I rearrange those for you? I'll help you carry those better. It's kind of wonky. And actually, you don't even need to be carrying this one at all, that one at all. Nah, you don't have to carry that one at all. This is what Jesus does for you in my life. We're carrying like 20 or 30 things. And then if you go to Jesus and you say, Jesus, can you help carry this with me? Can you hold this with me? Jesus says, I'm so glad you asked. I've been waiting for you to ask this. Seemed kind of heavy. Actually, you don't need to carry this one at all. That one you've been holding on for a long time. I wonder if we could look at this together. This one seems to be particularly heavy for you. Here, if you actually started to carry it like this, it'd be easier. Father Peter, what he tries to teach me is this. He says, what's yours and what's theirs? What's yours and what's theirs? Like the 3% in that constructive criticism, what's for me? What's mine? The rest, they get to hold. What's for me? Mary, these things happen, and it says she keeps them in her heart. That word is so profound. In the Greek, it means to keep closely, to conserve, to remember, to preserve, or to obey. She hears the word of the Lord through the angels. She hears the word of the Lord through the shepherds. And she remembers and keeps and conserves and holds it together. If you look at the English for it, it's so profound. Sometimes we even use the word keep to mean celebrate, maintain, sustain, continue, possess. In the Spanish, I'm starting to learn Spanish. In the Spanish, they use the word to guard. Mary guarded these things in her heart, protected them. Sometimes, I want to say this next part so gently. Sometimes you and I guard things that Jesus wants us to let go of. Like someone hurt me in my past, and I am going to keep that memory until I die. And it kind of has a power over us. See, Mary, she keeps the word of the Lord, guards the word of the Lord, protects and conserves God's action in her life. The rest of the things can go. So, as a word for you, as you look back on this day, week, month, 2022, my hunch is like my life, your year's going to be mixed. What if you asked Jesus to hold you? What if he held your memories with you? You don't have to do it alone. He'll cry with you. He'll laugh with you. Okay, 3 ideas briefly on how to look forward in 2023. By the way, as a tangent a little bit, I listened to a podcast episode about goal setting, and I actually set goals. And they work. It's crazy. Who'd have thought? I'm only 37. It's only taken me 37 years to figure this out. It's like, wow, they work. My life is changing. Here are 3 ideas, one from a learning perspective, one from a prayer perspective, and one from a community and friend perspective that could help you in 2023 to grow in your faith. The first one is to learn. 2 years ago, I promoted Father Mike Schmitz's Bible in a Year. And so many people from our parish took us up on that challenge, and their lives have been changed. This year, starting today, he's going to read the Catechism of the Catholic Church in a year, every single day. If you don't know what the Catechism is, that's okay. It's kind of a summary of our faith as Christians. It's beautifully written, balanced, biblical. It will change your life. Father Mike Schmitz is a super intelligent, funny, down-to-earth priest who's humble, and he's going to read it and then comment on it. And if you're looking for a way where you can just hit play while you're driving or doing other tasks to learn about what it means to be a Christian, I just want to hold up for you to get that podcast, Catechism in a Year. For prayer, some of you have already done this, and so I just want to keep encouraging you to stay faithful to it. And if you've never done it, I want to encourage you to take a step in faith, to go to adoration. Adoration is a place where you and I go to that chapel over there and spend 1 hour of silent, quiet time with Jesus. Either reading, praying, meditating quietly, writing, drawing, painting, whatever you want to do. We sent out a survey to those who have been doing adoration. I just want to read just a couple of their comments, because they're people just like you and me. One person said, "My adoration experience has truly been a blessing. I appreciate beginning my week with an hour spent in the presence of Christ in the Eucharist. It is quiet and peaceful, allowing me to pray, meditate, and read. I find it to be a wonderful way to set the tone for my week ahead. This person's like Mary. Mary kept these things in her heart and pondered and reflected. And this person goes to our chapel and is like Mary. Another person said, grounding. Do you need to be grounded? 2023? And peaceful. I look forward to it every week. I love this next one. So honest. Wonderful. It took me a number of sessions to get used to the hour of quiet, but I really like it now. So honest. Sometimes when you and I are starting new habits, it's a little bit awkward and it takes us a few times to get used to it and we find our rhythm and we make mistakes and all of this stuff. Why would it be any different with our prayer routine? There's no shame in that. It's my favorite hour of the week, especially at times when I don't want to go. Love that. The grace received when spending time in His presence is undeniable. Sometimes when we set a habit for life or a new goal, our emotions are not helping us. But does that mean that we don't do it still? This person is like this for prayer too. Sometimes even priests, we don't want to go pray. But we pray. Last one, so edifying. I always leave the chapel feeling God's grace in my life, even on days when it's hard to get excited about going, when the world closes in. It's just these very days that I learn more about how much God loves me and is always listening to the cries of my heart. You and I, sometimes the world closes in because our world is mixed. It's good and bad. But are we only left to ourselves? Or does Jesus hold that with us? We can keep all of our life in our heart because I'm not holding it by myself. And lastly, for friendship, just want to encourage you to take a step, if you're not part of a small group, to learn about one and then to join one. You will not be disappointed. Small groups change our lives because we get to be known, accepted, and loved. And we get to know, accept, and love others. And they get to help hold us as well as Jesus. So on 2023, we're so blessed that as I look back, I don't look back alone. And as I look forward, I'm not alone there either.